Hey there, so I'm going to get you started working through opening up AASPI and loading your data so we can do some seismic attribute analysis. First thing we want to do is open AASPI. We'll get a command window. I have a dual screen, so I had to drag it over. We'll get a command window, and then we'll also be able to choose our working directory. So I've got my data for this training exercise on the desktop. So I'm going to go to my AASPI training F3 folder and click OK. So once I do that, the main command window will open up. You can see here we have a lot of tabs, import, export, seismic attributes, data conditioning, some AI tools, and we'll get into some of those later on. But the first thing I want to do is go to import, export, 3D seismic data, and I want to convert my data to the AASPI format. So you can read more about this in the documentation. We store our data in a .h file. It's a brick format, and it allows us to, it's just what our algorithms run on. So I'm going to import, export 3D data. I'm going to browse and select my F3 data set that I'm working on. And so you can see that some defaults open up. If you want to, you could view the SEGY header by clicking right here. And so I can do that, and at the same time I can kind of read through it, and your headers will always look a bit different than mine unless you're using the same data set as me. But what we can do now is we can make sure that we have the default set correctly. So let's see, you can see we need to set the XY coordinate to be 73, the Y coordinate to be 77, the inline 9, and then the CDP is 21. So I think the rest of this is correct. We're working in time. So I'm going to scroll down and click execute SEGY to AASPI conversion. Oh, I forgot my project name, so I'm going to put in here exercise 1. Alright, so sometimes I put the date, sometimes I just put my initials, sometimes I just put trial 1. So it's just a kind of unique identifier so you could keep your different runs through AASPI separate. And then I'll click execute SEGY to AASPI conversion. You can see that it does a quick check, just checking on the first time sample, the last time sample, and the sample interval. And for this data set, these are all correct, so I'm going to hit yes, and I'll close this. If we look, we can see in the command window that it's running through the data, calculating it all. And so we're going to give it a second to do that. And then what pops up on one of your screens is the program completion status. And so a program completion status always pops up. It just allows you to kind of double check everything. Sometimes it'll tell you that the process failed. And so that's it's just a nice warning system or a double check system. So I'm going to exit out of that now that my data is loaded. I'm going to go back to my main command window, and I am going to go to my visualization. I want to look at seismic, and for now we're just going to do a 2D plot. So I've selected the 2D plot. I'm going to open up the file input right here. So now you can see we have our f3.h file. It's in the default folder that I set. So I'm going to click on that. We have some defaults for color bars, and I'll show you in a second how to change them all. But you could see that you can go through, you could change, your time, like what part of the data you want to look at. You have your different desired axes, and what I want to do for now is just show you the data. So we're going to execute the AASPI 2D plot, and a window like this should show up. So let me make it a little bit bigger. You can see the data here. You can scroll through it, kind of play through it as I'm doing here. You can go up to File. You can go into, let's change the color table. So perhaps I want to change the color table to a red, white, blue. We could hit apply, and we've got our seismic data in a red, white, blue color scale. But I like my black, white, gray, so I'm going to go back to it. Cancel out of that. Other things you could do is you could go into the settings. We could change, the title labels. We could change the data ranges. So all of that can be done if you want to make slightly nicer looking charts. And then let me just show you. You can also plot the data by changing around the axes. So I've gone back to the 2D plotting. We can change these, execute the plot again. We're a little high, so let me go down. Oh, I actually made a mistake. So one of the things, let me go back to, we're going to put CDP as axis 1, and you'll notice that we have these increments. So I think now I've got it correctly set. We've got our time increment is 4 milliseconds, and then we're moving through it in increment numbers. So let me try hitting OK again. Before it defaulted, I think, to 10 instead of 1. Alright, so now as we move through it, it should look a lot better. Alright, and that is just the nice quick tutorial for getting started in AASPI. Thanks.